Hey dudes,
Fine.
welcome
Always be over
back.
here, sharpening my
Yeah,
feathers.
this is ACEL's Northeastern Esports Conference, UPenn versus University of Delaware. Getting
Tyrant.
back into this, the series is tied up 1-1 in an exciting and
Right.
odd turn of events. University of Delaware took the last game off from University of Pennsylvania. Now we're getting into the band
Do
phase.
not
Welcome my
confuse
co-caster
cowardice.
Hans. Hello Hans. Say hello to the people.
What's good, everybody? I'm sorry, I gotta like progressively make it more cringe. Like just as much as I can for every
We know that
game.
everybody appreciates that, man.
Bruh,
Everybody.
I'm sure
All right.
everybody does. I'm probably seeing like a bunch of
Oh man.
tryhards in chat or something like that. It's great.
Heck yeah. All
Um,
right. Well, launching into these picks here.
well,
We got, or well, bands. I guess cover that.
So
Tell
for
them
the
what they're
bands
seeing.
here, for the typical Delaware bands, we're going to be seeing that Lisa, then Zaya, then Caitlin. You know, nothing really new there. That's what they've been doing for the last two games, now three. To see University of Pennsylvania, they are going to be banning out that Kha'Zix and that Aurelia again. However, they are going to also try and ban away that Swain. Herson did a really good job on Delaware's team, utilizing that Swain in the mid lane as well, instead of like flexing him more mid instead of using him as a top laner, and he did really well. He was able to constantly use his teleport and roam down and help out the bottom lane. It's going to be very interesting to actually see this matchup here from Delaware versus University of Pennsylvania, because University of Pennsylvania is taking that Jin and Tom Kinch like they did in game one the last time they played on the red side, whereas Delaware, their first game to counter Jin and Tom Kinch, they took Draven and Morgana. That did not turn out well for them at all, but since they were first picked this game, they are going to be taking Kaisa, which University of Pennsylvania played last game. It didn't turn out too well for them, but they did have an Alistar support. Night Stealth here is going to be playing Janna on the support this game instead of Morgana like in game one. They played Janna in game two, and they did it really well. They were able to kite very well for their team as a whole.
Nightstealth
Um,
seems so comfortable on that Janna pick. Like it was night and day versus what he was doing with the Morgana. Like being able to, he seemed like he felt comfortable both being on the back line and also getting forward for his team and making sure he was be able to disengage. Like that was great. It was nice to be able to see him comfortable on a champion like that.
Indeed, he did a great well of positioning,
Positioning.
of
You waste your
positioning
time.
his
Position.
champion throughout multiple fights, along within the bottom
What
lane, just
fools.
to help counter those nocturne ganks. Um, we are going to be seeing Bad Juju pick up Vigar like he did in game one.
I
However,
think you picked
Hernsson,
this
since
one.
his Swain has been banned out, he's not going to go for Tally again. He's going to go for somebody that can sustain and do a little bit more damage. So he's going to be picking up this Vladimir, just like, awkwardly enough, Bad Juju, I say awkwardly, oddly enough, Bad Juju actually picked Vladimir last game,
Afraid of
whenever
the dark.
Herson got Swain. And
Yeah.
now they're actually finally able to ban out Nocturne, since they focused on that Jin Tom Kinch pick and then that Vigar pick for the mid lane to counter Vladimir. Um, they banned out Nocturne, which Free XP here has been doing really well as a jungler using Nocturne. And then they're going to be banning out the Ornn, which Richie's also been doing really well with. He didn't do too well last game just because Rito God's Please utilized a great pick and the essence of Wukong, who he also felt a little bit more comfortable playing as. He was able to use. He first bought a Ravenous Hydra to help him wave clear, to help him push, get a lot of damage onto that Wukong, and then help him sustain through the damage coming from the Ornn in the top side. And this
Yeah.
time, it looks like we're going to be seeing Trundle jungle with Jace top lane.
I
Um,
really hope this works out for Into the Dusk. I'm okay. So to make this clear, I'm not a huge fan of the Trundle in the jungle. for one reason, and that is he doesn't have enough mobility to be able to get around the map as effectively or clear as effectively to get around to lanes to gank, right? Like if you pull off a gank, it has to go off perfectly. Otherwise, you're gonna fall behind. You're not gonna be able to get the tank items you need. It's gonna be rough.
And real quick, I don't mean to cut you out, but something
Oh, you're
I
fine.
kind of wanted to get across before they actually traded was
Yeah.
I was going to talk about the possibility of actually using that Vladimir as a flex pick, especially seeing that Jace pick come through. It looks right now like they're going to be going Vladimir in the top lane and Jace in the mid lane. But that also gives them the potential, um, if really needed, possibly for a lane swap if either one of them are struggling and the other one's doing really well. Maybe they'll swap to try and even out the lanes. Not too sure. I know that doesn't happen almost at all in more competitive matches. Um,
Right.
but it would almost, I mean, Delaware has been, both Delaware and University of Pennsylvania has been throwing in a few odd picks in there. I mean, as we see from the Jays, Jace has always been a pretty strong pick, but nobody really picks him that much, at least in a competitive scene.
Yeah.
And just to see him in the mid lane as a Vigar counter, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Just with him trying to either poke down or trying to get in close with Vigar.
Right.
Definitely trying to assert pressure on him.
It
But it
was kind of interesting because I was kind of hoping that Hurston would pick up the Vladimir since Vladimir plays so similarly to what the new Swain does. And so, like, I was like, okay, this makes sense. This is good. I wonder if Rito Gods Please is going to be able to play that as effectively, you know?
indeed, I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of a better pick in a sense, just
Hmm.
because it gives Herson the ability to try and poke out Vigar from more range and play safer as well if
Yeah.
he necessarily needs to. He has the ability to, swap to hammer stance and just try and go in and crush down Vigar. Um,
Right.
and then I feel like with that Cho'Gath being left open and it being in turn picked up by Richie in the top lane, I feel like it may be a little bit better for that Vladimir pick just to poke him down. And if they can make Cho'Gath focus on building magic resistance in the early game against Vladimir in the top lane, you're seeing Trundle, Jace, and Kaisa that do AD damage. Trundle maybe not as much, at least burst wise, but you're going to be seeing Jace with probably like probably building a little bit of lethality early on. You're seeing Kaisa just putting out waves and waves of AD damage that by the time it comes to the mid lane, if Cho'Gath is feeling pressured enough by the Vladimir, you may see him fall apart in the mid game until he's able to get some armor. And because of that, University of Delaware may be able to pressure them more, and I mean they're definitely looking, I think, to try and end the game by late mid game. They
Right.
definitely don't want Pennsylvania to make it to the late game. Because, I mean, you're looking at
Yeah.
a Cho'Gath, you're looking at a Jin, Tom Kench, Vigar that all do really well in the late game. Tom Kench isn't necessarily able to like tank as well in the late game, but I mean he's gonna be able to save Jin or Vigar if they're in any immediate danger and able to soak that damage down. And then you're gonna be
Yeah.
seeing Cho'Gath become almost unkillable, and if you get some stacks up, his ult's gonna just pop through any
Squishy
squishy
spot.
on
Yeah.
Delaware's team.
Absolutely. I think it's also worth pointing out that there is no tel currently on University of Delaware at all. There is an Ignite. There is, but I mean, Vlad did take the Unsealed Spellbook, but still, they're not starting off with the teleport. I don't know if that was to confuse the opposite team to make them kind of to confuse University of Pennsylvania, to like make them second guess their choices, or if that was wholly intentional. You know, I mean, I do get taking the Ignite on Vladimir, especially with Ignite getting the recent buffs. Like, it's great. But I guess I'm wondering about it. You know.
Well, well, we're gonna be seeing a pause coming through.
Let's see. It looks like just a few computer problems, so we'll be able to chunk through that shortly. But yeah, no, I mean, we should probably talk about Keystones a little bit, since that does factor into the reason that, you know, top lane didn't take teleport and all of that.
So with, I mean, with Vladimir, it's very typical for him to be taking that unsealed spellbook. It's definitely something that Vladimir is supposed to take. I think now in this meta, it's just like it's what's almost expected from him.
Yeah.
You're gonna be seeing Jace with electrocute, right? With that ignite, definitely trying for a little bit more burst, and if he's able to poke down for that electrocute, he can definitely, you know, do that once, maybe twice, and then actually all in Vigar before maybe a gank can come across. Is something that we saw the last time that a matchup against Vigar happened. Herson was actually pushing into Vigar, so it may be really hard for him to get a kill earlier, just because Vigar is going to be pushed in. And this Zac here, you know, if he pushes too aggressively, Zac is going to very easily be able to like walk in range, even if it's like a level 1 or 2 elastic shot or slingshot from him. Yep. He's going to be able to pop in still, no problem, and you know, punish that Jace for being too aggressive.
Right, exactly. Which is an interesting point to make, especially so early on, you know. There's so much CC potential that's coming out of this University of Pennsylvania side. I do kind of appreciate University of Delaware. Ooh, all right, a lot of early damage coming out there for person using that electrocute very effectively. Not yet using the ignite. Didn't have quite enough damage to be able to do anything there. But yeah, he's making that keystone work for him a lot.
Indeed, he's doing really well with it. Something that I noticed just from watching that fight go down is that he was actually, to an extent, ignoring his minions in the first wave and just trying to last hit. Trying to keep the minions as frozen as possible. You see him actually wandering, and now that his wave pushed, to try and get some added vision to see where the Zac is going. I mean, you see Trundle coming in while Zac is just tanking this red buff, and it looks like he may catch him or be a little suspicious of it, but
Trundle's just gonna push up into there and try to take that buff, but I mean, he can't really stick around too long. They kind of got caught out there.
Yeah, he's able to notice that this Cho'Gath is missing from lane, so he's gonna play very safe and try and go for this. Now he's going around from the other side trying to take that red buff away and focus Zac off of it, which is doing a very good job of keeping Zac preoccupied. He has Cho'Gath under tower right now, and it's just allowing both the mid and top laner to try and poke that damage down without, you know, having to try and worry about this, you know, this Zac
Right.
using a slingshot in.
And it's just as I think it's also just as much a safety measure, you know, for Into the Dusk being able to be in that jungle alone with Zac and know that he doesn't have top laners pouring in, people from the top lane and mid lane pouring in to try to take him out, while he's that deep in the jungle that they're fully aware. So I like that shift in coordination actually, because in previous games we had talked about what seemed like a lack of communication on University of Delaware's side, and I feel like we might be seeing a little bit of that communication that we were hoping for, especially in like the first game. Last game it seemed like they were hitting their stride a little bit, but this game, it's even more, like even better. Ooh, the flash coming out of Richie there a little bit early as Into the Dusk pops the pillar to try to get some early gank pressure going on in the top lane. I like these movements from Into the Dusk. I do enjoy the fact that he's trying to be proactive here.
Indeed, he's doing a very good job of, just focusing on where the enemy jungler is. He's almost marrying him to an extent. Although he is going to be a little bit delayed because of that gank making it into his bottom side jungle. He wasn't quite able to get that Tiamat like he probably would have wanted on his first back, which is maybe the reason why he tried to push a little bit more for that gank. I mean, they were able to blow the flash, so I mean, it's still a good gank.
But probably not exactly what he was looking for.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I mean, like, speaking of how well he's doing, just keeping vision of where free XP is, a lot of blue ganks going down on the bot side of vision being spotted out here in the tri-bush of University of Delaware. Michael Kwok gets popped up a little bit. Mini Dewey's just gonna swallow up his little buddy and carry him out. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that Into the Dusk is, again, being so proactive at trying to find out, getting as much knowledge as he can for the team, trying to create pressure across the map, and finding free XP like that does a lot for especially this mid lane. Because, I mean, Herson is pretty vulnerable right now on this Jace being shoved up so far. Ooh. Flash coming out of Rito, God please, in the top lane. We'll keep him safe, but yeah, I mean, he's got that summoner down, so it means that free XP can try to abuse that a little bit later. I might end up coming back around for some more gank-like action.
Indeed, honestly, I don't necessarily feel like he needed to blow that flash. It definitely allowed him to stay healthy just in case they tried to pursue him more, or in case of a re-engage there. But I think that with his pull, along with like just the damage that he's been doing and his sustain, like he could have outlasted them and just pulled back to his tower. With him having that unsealed spellbook, by this point in time he would have a charge, so he could have easily, backed bot teleport and just teleported back to lane, which now he's going to be pushing his lane in, and it'll be interesting to see if he still tries to go for that teleport, or because he was able to push his lane so far.
There's the teleport.
Yep, there's a teleport coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's the smarter move here, right? I mean, you're shoving your lane a lot. You're really not doing a whole lot trying to push too much for your team. He's keeping Richie locked up here. Richie can't go anywhere, and so buying that teleport is going to let him maintain control of this top lane. However, it does mean he doesn't have any CC available to stop Richie if Richie decides to teleport to the bot lane. I think that's the only problem I see here.
Yeah, luckily enough, he is doing a pretty good job of actually baiting out Cho'Gath. And definitely with the coordination from his team. I thought it was only Jace at first, but with Trundle coming in, definitely making sure that he gets that pillar to distance them, making sure that Cho'Gath doesn't get that ult down.
Right.
Not only is it denying Cho'Gath that stack, it's keeping the Vladimir alive, and because of that gank, giving that kill on over to Jace is definitely going to help him with his, early game spike. But they're able to take that tower and try and go in.
Here in the jungle.
Yeah.
They're not going to end up getting anything for that, but yeah, no, you're right. I mean, like that gank in the top side actually offered them a lot more than what it looks like at first, especially because they did pick up that tower first blood, right? I mean, now they're 2,000 gold up on University of Pennsylvania here, which is going to be doing them a lot of good. Plus, that tower is going to put so much pressure on the top lane. that now Richie 5555 and Free XP have to deal with.
Indeed, and something to point out here is just the difference in games. Last game, whenever University of Delaware was actually doing well, and they got that first tower up in the top side, they were actually, I think it was like, I don't know, I want to say like 5-2 or 5-3, and they were only at a 1k gold lead, whereas now the difference in kills is like Delaware has a kill, Penn State doesn't, but they're able to get that first tower blood, give them that extra gold. Now they're actually, because of CS differences in mid and top lane, they're able to get that 2k gold lead overall, and they felt comfortable enough with just Trundle and Jace to move on down to invade that Zac, get a little bit of damage just to show them that they aren't afraid, and then work on down to try and get, I think they got 400 or 500 damage down on that mid lane tower.
Right. I mean, it's so much. It's kind of an overwhelming amount of pressure right now, is what it's seeming for University of Pennsylvania. We should probably recognize that University of Pennsylvania, though, I mean, as much as they're being shoved in, they're doing a fairly good job of like trying to slow down the pace at least of this game and keep it from snowballing too far out of hand. So I mean, just little things like free XP being able to be available. Ooh, Rito Gods, please. Looks like you want some action here from Richie 555. Richie does not have a tower available, and it looks like Into the Dusk is going to come in here as well. The flash forward from Richie 55 will spell the end for Rito Gods, please. Into the Dusk. He's not done with Richie, though. Will end up flashing forward to finish him off with 2 auto attacks, and that is a 1-for-1 trade in the top side. Yikes. So here's the thing. I do appreciate that Rito Gods, please, is being very ballsy, right, in going in on Ricky 5555. But if we look at the difference in items still, even with just the Catalyst and the Null Magic Mantle.
It's a Negatron cloak.
Sorry, Negatron Cloak. Thank you. Yeah, the Negatron Cloak, right? The amount of damage that Richie is able to negate. Ooh, Herson gets the flash out just in time, but he's taken out in the end by bad juju. Throwing out the ultimate, throwing down a Q, spell in the end for the very, very brave mid laner from Delaware. Yikes.
Something
so
that I
really
do
impressive.
want to point out real fast is that just to talk about that 2k gold lead, now it's at about a 1.5k gold lead.
Right.
Well, so we actually have Vigard coming in from the mid lane trying to support Zac in that 1v1 that he was having.
Ooh, a teleport coming down from the top lane as well. Looks like Rito God Please is coming in to support his team too. East Coast carry is trying to do a little bit of damage. Yeah, a lot of attention down here on the bot lane for really what it looks like is they're positioning for this Mountain Drake. Both teams, really.
Indeed, I mean, you see them. Each team has 4 people down in the bottom side now, and I mean, you're seeing Trundle push up to this Vigar again, trying to distract him a little bit. But
yeah,
to talk about that,
to take this tower, they should be able to turn on the dragon, no problem.
yeah. Just to talk about that gold lead, it was at 2k. Now it's at only about 1.5, just because of University of Pennsylvania picking up those 2 kills, definitely trying to shove a couple waves. But just to look at the individual gold difference, at the time I was trying to bring it up, Trundle was at a 1,000 gold difference. He himself was sitting on just a Tiamat and like a Hunter's Talisman, I believe, at the time. And I mean, he had a lot of money to go back. Like, he completely finished his jungle item, Red Smite with Cinderhulk enchantment. Whereas, like, he just passed 5k, and we have Zach sitting at 4.3k. Being at a bit of a disadvantage there. I mean, you see Tiamat for Trundle versus just a Ruby Crystal for Zach.
Right, the value there. Well, looking into the action going on now, into the dusk, it's going to be picked up by Mini Dewey and Bad Juju. Herson now on the run. Free XP though, jumping down onto the carries in the bot side. Looks like he's going to use the Let's Bounce to jump forward on a Night Stealth and East Coast carry, being brought very low. But it looks like East Coast carry trapped inside by Bad Juju. Free XP getting the passive pop there. Herson trying to pick up the pieces, sort out what's going on with that gooey boy. Oh, Night Stealth being stunned up by the event horizon will end up going down though. Yikes. Not a great turn of events for University of Delaware. They did lose 2 members there for no kills, actually going over to University of Pennsylvania.
I believe it was actually 3. Because they
right.
collapsed on Trundle, took him out, then worked on focusing that bot lane after they pushed Jace off back towards mid.
Absolutely, you're right. Yeah, they did pick up Into the Dusk very early on in the fight, and then afterwards they went back for East Coast carry and Night Stealth. So very well executed from the side of UPenn. Even though they are behind like this, it's nice to know that they know how to take these fights and fight back strategically. Even with the amount of powerhouses that are down here. Oh, Person could be in trouble though, being brought very low. Pops the Yomus. But an auto attack will clean that up. Free XP, picking up a little bit of XP there for himself. Yeah, no, I feel like UPenn is, even though they're playing from behind, they're playing very well.
Indeed, I mean, they are doing really well. Jace did have like overstays welcome there. They backed off to let the minions take the mid tower because they knew it would be taken, so they'd have to stick around. But then Jace just stayed a little too long. Stayed in vision, so that Zach was actually able to slingshot in and catch him out and just burst him down because he was so low and had no mana as well. He was able to knock him away with his E and hammer stance, but it just wasn't enough. He was already slowed from the blue smite, and he just wasn't moving fast enough to get away from Zach.
Right. Worth mentioning that is a Mountain Drake picked up now for the side of University of Pennsylvania, giving them a little bit more ability to start chunking away at some of these towers. They still haven't picked up a tower for themselves, but they're kind of making up for it in these sporadic kills that are going down as University of Delaware tries to honestly, it looks like they're spreading themselves a little bit thin here, not really pushing for any particular objective and just kind of staying in respective lanes and trying to bully out their lane opponents one by one.
Indeed, to kind of talk about spreading thin, if you want to take a look at Vigar's items here, he has completed Ninja Tabby to make sure that because they are an AD heavy team, you know, Trundle does focus on auto attacks. Jace has been focusing a little bit more on doing auto attack damage over during the landing phase on Vigar. But he has that tier to be stacking up for a, you know, an Archangel, so Seraph's Embrace, which, I mean, it's definitely like a go-to item, especially now on Vigar. But he has last chapter to make sure that he gets more mana back, which I almost feel is kind of redundant right now, just due to the fact that he also has the Seeker's Arm Guard for that more armor, and, you know, that potential to build into a Hourglass. I feel like he should have either focused on finishing an Hourglass or focused on finishing, I think he'd be going for Luden's Echo there.
Right. Yeah, I do definitely see your point there, especially with actually, yeah, we're just gonna go with that. I do definitely see your point there. I think he's kind of putting too many. Oh wow, nice stuff being dropped very low. Mini Dewey will end up picking that kill onto him. The ultimate will not stop anybody from getting through. Richie teleporting down to the bot side will end up bringing East Coast Carry very low, but he looks like he's safe here in the back line. Is into the dusk, picks up the kill on free XP. Now in the back line, Bad Juju is stuck, forced to flash over the pillar. Now into the dusk, and Herson will be chasing after him, picking him up as well. Looks like 3 members left for the side of University of Pennsylvania trying to defend this turret. That wasn't super clean from University of Pennsylvania. Wow. Yikes, they could have done a lot more there to make sure they were able to pull off what they were trying to do there. Oh, Mini Dewey on the backside going very low as well. Still, Rito Gods, please, ends up finishing that off. Richie being the last casualty in that very long team fight. University of Delaware coming out on top. They'll take this bot side tower, and it looks like they could transition that to mid lane if they really wanted to.
Indeed, something to note about that team fight was that it was kind of just funny how you know, Delaware went for like that flank from River while they were going in, and then almost to try and counter it, Pennsylvania had Vigar come around from Tribush. It's just they forgot that Vigar was squishy, and he just got bursted. Like, yeah, he went around, and they just immediately were like, oh, well, Pennsylvania's already fallen back to their tower, we can't dive them. Oh, hey, look, a free Vigar.
Right. Like, I mean, like, and that's kind of what seemed odd about that fight, is that they were like, hey, Vigar, you flank. I mean, I get it. He has the event horizon, throw that around a few members and kind of keep himself a little safe. But after the event horizon's used, he doesn't have anything to really back him up, you know?
And I mean, you saw Trundle blow his flash to get out of that event horizon just to start whacking at Vigar.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They hadn't, into the dusk, actually pull out that flash yet. They didn't know it was down, but they didn't, I mean, because it wasn't down. They didn't know it was up, but they also didn't absolutely know it was down, so they really shouldn't have been going for a risky play like that. Their comp should really be trying to establish a front line, keep your back line behind your frontliners, and then just blast through the front line. You don't need to be doing these odd dives onto the backside to try to assassinate anybody. So it just seems a little reckless.
To go back to the items thing, I do want to apologize. I forgot that Lost chapter actually builds into Archangel stuff now.
Right.
So that's why Vigar had it.
It did seem a little weird, but yeah, I mean, like, I mean, and it makes sense because those two items complement each other so well, but the original point that you were making, I think, is still very relevant as to, like, why is he not focusing on one item and then the other, right? Like, he built the Seeker's Arm Guard to get the stacks, but just build the Archangel staff, or at least complete that, so you have some of the power at least backing you up.
Yeah, because I mean, with that Archangel staff, definitely that mana is going to be helping, you know, giving him AP, which is really going to help. But a completed Archangel staff actually stacks twice as fast, which I know not a lot of people like realize or know that. So the normal tier of the goddess stacks up 4 mana per ability, whereas an Archangel staff actually stacks 8.
8 mana, right? And so completing that that Archangel staff is pretty powerful. I mean, especially because you're playing Vigar, you're going to be stacking that, and as soon as you can have that available, you negate a lot of the damage that Herson can do to you if he jumps on you, or that, you know, say East Coast Carry gets back there. Now it's a lot harder to pop you. So, interesting choice of item builds, though. It looks like the siege is going to continue on the bot lane. Now all 5 members of both sides are down here. University of Delaware really wants this turret. Oh, Rito Gods, please. Uses the blood pool to get out of the event horizon. Person is looking pretty tanky himself, by the way. Oh, but it looks like Free XP here using the classic slingshot to jump himself out of danger. Will end up at mid lane turret.
Indeed, something that was kind of interesting to check out was while they were pushing that and kind of waiting for the wave, they did back up into the jungle. So you did see Trundle take Wolves and I believe Jace actually take blue buff away.
Right.
Just so that they had, you know, even a little bit more gold advantage, as well as having that blue buff onto their side of the team, especially going over the Jace is going to be really nice. It's going to allow him to just spam his abilities, especially since Jace isn't exactly one to build a mana moon anymore,
Right.
which I'm kind of bummed out about. But it's something that's going to help, you know, make sure that he has that mana available.
Right. Gotta be honest, one of my least favorite items in the game. I know that might be an unpopular opinion. I hate it. I just hate mana moon.
I mean, it's probably honestly a decently popular opinion. I can think of worse items.
Home record.
I feel like they made it a lot better than it was originally.
Probably. Yikes. The amount of damage that Michael Clock is able to put out right now, by the way, is disgusting. I mean, and he's sitting on he doesn't even have the Ginsu's built yet. That's just purely the rapid fire cannon proc paired with an Essence Reaver.
Yeah, but he's actually very close to finishing that Rage Blade. He's sitting on, you know, just about 1,000 gold right now, which I think 960 is what's needed to complete it from those 2 items. I know that they made it cheaper now.
Right. Well, in the last patch, they increased the cost just a little bit, but not by too much. Ooh. All right. Looks like Mini Dewey is gonna try to. Mini Dewey is gonna try to pull his bad juju out of danger. On the top lane, though, Rito Gods, please, doing his best to sustain against Richie 5555. Richie, though. The monster will devour the vampire, take a chunk of the powerhouse that is Delaware. So, he keeps going for these 1v1s and it's dangerous. So it's interesting, but now they lose a little bit of that pushing power on the bot side, so they're gonna have to back off.
It's going to be interesting to see how Delaware actually tries to transition from this point. It's very hard for them just a full 5v5, you know, siege. They can't do it in the mid lane just because it's real easy for University of Pennsylvania to engage from an unseen position. So they're probably going to focus on the top or bottom side, but as we've seen them do that before, it just comes down to a stalemate. They don't, like, University of Pennsylvania's wave clear is just too good for them. And then by the time that they actually get a wave to the tower, it's almost gone immediately.
Right, exactly. I like what you were saying. I mean, with free XP here playing the Zac, able to just jump in out of nowhere, it makes it pretty dangerous to be up against these towers so far, especially when you have some squishy backline. Ooh, Herson finding some good damage, but not a whole lot. I'm curious to see how much poke that this team is going to be utilizing underneath these turrets. If they're going to start trying to really chunk out members of University of Pennsylvania a little bit more and stick out these fights underneath the tower. Because that's the thing. I mean, one thing that this University of Delaware team can do is they can disengage and then re-engage very well. It's hard for them, though, to just strictly engage once when they decide to. because I mean they have the Trundle who can get in. They have Rito God's Please. And they're going to be taking that Mountain Drake themselves, but they don't have any extremely strong sudden engage tools, right? Like there's no Leona ultimate to get them in there. There's no Maokai to fly in and lock up a few members. You've got the Trundle Pillar, and you've got Rito God's Please with the Proto Belt, and that's really it.
Oh, we're going to be seeing that Jace blow that flash at the perfect time there. Usually, Zach is able to charge up his ultimate pretty fast and well. It's just with those Mark Treads coming on over from Jace, it was able to reduce the disable just a little bit. Where it gave him that ability to flash out before Zach was able to spirit him away.
Take him away to the Netherworld.
Indeed.
Netherworld, not Netherworld. Yeah,
just
the amount of damage that Richie is doing up in top lane is terrifying.
Indeed, he's definitely very easy for him to push in, and he definitely has the health there to utilize his Warmogs so that he can get into fights, and if he wins a 1v1, he's able just to walk away, hide in a bush, heal, and just keep pushing. We're going to be seeing him get this T1 bot lane tower, which is really good to help out University of Pennsylvania establish more vision and make sure that they stay kind of even in this game. It's going to be very good for them to have that. They're going to be seeing Vladimir come down here, and Cho'Gath is expecting it. They see them kind of wandering around. Janna was coming on down a bit, but she is going to be falling back, having faith in Vladimir here. Something that's going to be interesting is that you do notice you're going to be seeing that the only magic resist item that Cho'Gath has is that Abyssal Mask. And with him having Bramble Vest, Vladimir really has to watch out, because if he weaves in auto attacks like he's been doing every once in a while, he's not going to be able to heal.
Right. Yikes. Yeah, see Richie going in for another attempted kill here onto Richie on the bot side. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Free XP caught out a little bit of Run Horizon, going to trap Person in. Pulled back by the Let's Bounce. Looks like Mini Dewey's going to pick up a kill onto that. Ooh, East Coast Carry, however, following up with a great kill on the Mini Dewey. But a kill in return from Bad Juju. Now East Coast Carry going terror mode onto the backside, picking up Michael Kwok, but it is Night Stealth now that's running away, as Free XP here was not actually taken down in that fight. The passive saves him. On the bot side, though, it looks like nothing actually happened there.
I was watching it while that fight was going down, so Vladimir actually won that fight. Cho'Gath got away with only about 50 to 100 health. It was very close, and I think it was because Vladimir was doing a very good job of kiting and making sure that he didn't, weave in those auto attacks for that Bramble Vest heal reduction, as well as now he actually has a little bit of magic resist from a null magic mantle, but he does, I don't believe he had it last time, he has a completed Rabadon's death cap, so it was able to give him that added oomph, that extra damage there, that it was really able to push him over the edge in terms of damage against that Cho'Gath. And like I was saying, Cho'Gath only has that Abyssal Mask, which is going to give him some magic resist, but it's also going to give him, that added damage with that 10% increased magic damage.
Caught out there in the bush. Yikes. Yeah, he's stuck in the vision, right, and kind of got picked off there. Not a whole lot he could have done. But yeah, no, I think you're right. Like, I mean, the fact that Rito God's Please is getting so high up there in his item build is helping him a lot out in those fights with Richie, and also adapting that playstyle to be able to not be including some of those auto attacks. Ooh. Golden from Bad Juju will save him for a little while. Looks like, though, Into the Dusk will pick up 1 kill. That is 2 kills for University of Delaware. Richie now going down to the might of East Coast carry. Now it is Into the Dusk, forced to flash away from Michael Kwok, who looked to continue to zone University of Delaware away. The Baron did, however, go over to University of Pennsylvania, so that is still on 2 members of their team. It's going to be a little bit for University of Delaware to try to pick up. Wow, there's a lot of damage available for University of Pennsylvania in these fights, and I think given that was a decently executed fight from University of Delaware.
Indeed,
they were Michael Kwok.
They're both doing really well. You do see 2 Banner of Commands actually coming on over from Pennsylvania to try and set up some counter pushes. So you have one for Cho'Gath and Zach, which is really nice that they changed it into a more tank item so that it's easier for people to actually pick it up and use it well. But I kind of wanted to talk about how Trundle right now...
Hold that thought. Night Stealth spotting out Mini Dewey will be brought down by East Coast Carry. That is 1 member down from University of Pennsylvania, and that gives Dragon priority over to University of Delaware. They should be able to run through this no problem. But yeah, like you were saying.
For Trundle, I mean, it's very, just to kind of back up a little bit, or fast forward a little bit, I guess. With them getting this this Elder Dragon, not only are they at a member advantage right now, a 2-member advantage, as they were actually able to catch out Michael Kwok. They took down that Baron buff. They only have 1 left on Vigar, and now they're at a 5v3. They're sieging with their Elder Dragon buff. Their Mountain Drake passive is efficiently doubled, so they're doing a lot more damage onto those towers and now these inhibs here. I think they're wanting to back off a little bit, but I mean, if they want to keep fighting, I really think that they, if they played it right, they could have effectively kited and won that team fight if they were able to engage. What?
It was a 5v4 or 4v4 at the time, but I mean they had both of their damage dealers out there, as compared to only Bad Juju really being out for University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and if they were able to take down Bad Juju, that would have, even at the cost of only 1 or 2 of their members, that's still 3 members with Elder Dragon buff, which is going to be doing really well, like a lot of damage since they've been doing really well in team fights. But that effectively removes their last Baron buff, gets it off the map since it already lasts longer than an Elder Dragon buff. It lets them pop through this team fight, and then effectively reset the playfield
East
here.
Coast Carry using the ultimate to carry himself through. Almost pops Bad Juju, but it's not quite enough. Into the Dusk now, using the Subjugate to try to heal himself up a little bit. Now it's Bad Juju popping the Hourglass to get out. That is a kill onto Curson. Now it looks like Rito Gods Please is in trouble, going very, very low. He's taken out finally by Richie. Oh, yikes, Night Stealth being dropped there in the end. Free XP now chasing after East Coast Carry. They're using the Elastic Slingshot to jump in on him finally. Will end up being brought down finally in the end by Richie 5x5. Now you got 4 members of University of Pennsylvania knocking on the doors of the second tier tower. They could even get an inhibitor tower if they really wanted to push for it.
And I really think that they could. I don't know why they're not. Or, well, that's why they're not. They have that, that super minion pushing down mid lane. It looks like they're going to try and maybe push towards the bot side. Something that really turn that fight around is the fact that you have Michael Kwok sitting on Jin, and he has completed that Rage Blade along with
Right.
that Essence Reaver. He has a BF sword.
Trouble there. Yikes.
Yeah, Trundle
Yeah.
just kind of walked into a bad situation.
Yeah.
Walked
Not
into that
enough.
Jin, he thought that he could actually win at first, but then you saw that, Zach coming on down, very easy to cover some ground with him, but you saw that Tom Kent actually ulting his way in.
Yeah. But what you were saying about the Ginsu Rage Blade, he's picked up that. He's picked up the.
So he
he's picked up
effectively,
IE.
now that he even has, because of that fight, he picked up, I think, 2 kills, but like he did a massive amount of damage. He has his IE now, so he's going to be doing a lot. On top of that, Zeal, he has 60% crit chance. And on top of that bonus crit damage, now his 4-shot is going to be doing a lot more damage. But during that fight, he didn't have the IE or the Zeal. He had a BF sword, a rapid fire cannon, Gunsus, and Essence Reaver. He was able to get that first shot in with the rapid fire cannon, doing an extra bit of damage. Delaware completely almost forgot about him. It seemed they were definitely focusing on the front line, whereas Jin was able to focus on dealing damage. He was very quickly able to actually stack up those 6 stacks on his Gunsus, and just get a lot of AD, which just shredded through all of University of Delaware. I mean, even back before that, during that Baron fight, we saw him hit a 4th crit shot on Trundle, who at the time had, it was only a Warden's Mail, but still essentially the tankiest member on the team for Delaware, hit a 4th crit shot on a half-health Trundle, do 900 damage to him.
And that is terrifying.
I mean, you just saw him do a 4-shot crit on a full HP minion for 2,000.
Right, exactly, and that's kind of why this particular build is so terrifying, because you get that attack speed steroid from the Ginsus that immediately transfers over to Jin's attack damage, and I mean, pair that with a crit, that's a lot of damage for free just for auto attacking something.
Yeah, and I mean, you also got to remember that it increases his AD by because it now stacks AD, AP, and I mean, well, it's always stacked AD, AP, and attack speed per stack, right?
Right.
But now, instead of being a base AD or AP, it's like, 10% of your AD and AP per stack. So he's getting at least a 60% AD boost on top of, that attack speed boost too.
Right. Okay, so actually, that's an interesting point, especially because so what I've been thinking about for the past 5 minutes is win conditions for these teams, right? It seems like University of Pennsylvania has their win condition, right? Keep Jin alive, keep Michael alive, keep Bad Juju alive, and you can win the team fight that way. We'll talk about this here in a second, but a team fight is broken out. Looks like Bad Juju will pick up Into the Dusk for the first kill of that. That gives priority for Baron over to University of Pennsylvania. But yeah, I mean, like, looking at the champions that are picked. Never mind. All right, we've got Rito Gods, please, jumping onto Michael Kwok. That will be the first casualty of the second part of this team fight, as East Coast Carry is brought below half health. That chases off all 4 members that are still alive from University of Pennsylvania. They'll disengage. Nobody will end up with Baron on that side. Rito Gods, please. Honestly, with a huge play there, being able to pick up Michael Kwok before he's able to do any damage to the rest of the team.
Indeed.
That call was very smart, because that guy's a monster right now.
Vladimir actually played that very well. He waited for that 4-shot for Jin to waste on re-engaging back onto Baron, and he just immediately went in, popped Jin's flash, and set him up on the side all by himself for Kaisa to actually go in and pick him off. Because you were talking about win conditions, and essentially if Delaware, I believe if Delaware can actually get that first kill onto Jin, if they can catch him out, they won the team fight. Especially now that they have Elder Dragon, they're going to be taking Elder Dragon and rush immediately on over, setting up some wards and going for this Baron, which may not even be for Baron, but just essentially to bait out a team fight. And honestly, with their Elder Dragon buff and that Mountain Drake double stack because of the Elder Dragon, they just shredded through Baron a lot faster than I think University of Pennsylvania thought they would.
Yeah, exactly. And looking into another team fight, it looks like the pass gets popped early on free XP here. Rito Gods Please kiting away, but it will be East Coast Carry picking up the second kill of the fight. Now Rito Gods Please picking up the third kill onto Richie. 3 members of University of Pennsylvania trying to get away. Michael Kwok will be left alone though as Dewey goes down, and that will be a clean ace from University of Delaware as they finish off the rest of the members of University of Pennsylvania. They could end the game here anytime they want to. In fact,
And that was a beautiful quadra kill coming on over from East Coast Carry. I mean, he was able to effectively target everyone that he needed to target. You saw him ult to Jin the second that he could and pop a lot of damage on him before he could even, throw down an auto attack. I mean, and then he just was able to transfer that on over to an already low HP Tom Kinch, wipe Tom Kinch out the second that he was down, pop his Q, pop down an auto, and just pop Jin, and then focus on cleaning up Vigar before they just ran it down mid. That is going to be a surrender coming on over from University of Pennsylvania. They realized that with the 20-second death timers and the tank and the Trundle being able to tank out the damage while having that Elder buff and the Mountain Drake already, they were just going to shred through those towers, take out the Nexus. We're going to go on to a brief intermission here before we go on to Game 4.